listening to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
This is Pharmacy Crossroads with your host, community pharmacy business veteran, the road trip guy, Bruce Nealand. Community pharmacy is at a crossroads. Pharmacy owners across the country are evolving their pharmacy businesses and making a bigger impact on their communities. Bruce talks with the most innovative community pharmacy owners, pharmacy industry experts, and people who are passionate about the business of pharmacy and its impact on community healthcare. Pharmacy Crossroads is a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. And now, here's our host, Bruce Nealand.
So hello again, ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors. This is Bruce Nealand with another episode of Pharmacy Crossroads. And good grief, am I excited about today. So by way of introduction, I had a chance to spend a day with Chris Corneliuson doing a seminar in Salt Lake City last week. And I just fell in love with what he's doing. He's on the podcast today. He is a superstar, but he's not the only superstar I've got. So I have three pharmacy experts to share with us some ideas today about ideas for improving the front end of your pharmacy. And pharmacy owners, I know some of you are doing an okay job, some of you doing a good job, but most of you have just really overlooked the front end. And we're going to try to bring some ideas and some inspiration for you to improve your front end today. So I also have on the phone with me Jonathan Tanner. Jonathan and I have been friends, acquaintances in the industry for about 6 years, I think. Jonathan, we met at a trade show in 2016. Jonathan's introducing a brand new product. Jonathan, tell us who you are and just the name of your company, real quick orientation, and then we'll move on to the other two.
Thanks, Bruce. Jonathan Tanner here. I'm the founder and CEO of Breath Rocks. And what Breath Rocks are, they are popping breath mints. So if you think about Pop Rocks, these are basically sugar-free Pop Rocks with zinc.
Well, and zinc is going to make a big difference for where we're going. So front-end products, Phil, I don't know that anybody knows more about more stuff than you at this point. Who are you and what are you doing on the podcast today?
My name is Phil Childers. I'm the brand acquisition and sales manager for Match Square, an online B2B wholesale marketplace, specifically and explicitly made for the front end of independent pharmacy.
And it's an amazing program. I've had your boss on with me on a podcast before, and I'm excited to have you here and excited about your company and what you're doing. So, Chris, that brings us full circle. Chris Corneliuson, who are you and what are you doing here?
Okay, I'm the CEO of Solutions RX. I am a pharmacist. Solutions RX, we're a vitamin, probiotic, enzyme, and supplement company that solves patients' problems with a pharmacy mindset. We also support independent pharmacy with solutions, processes, and collaborations. We mainly focus on drug nutrient depletion, probiotics, but we dabble in a lot, including culture, leadership, digestive enzymes, and so on.
Well, and you are the real guy on the phone. You've actually owned 3 pharmacies, as I recall, right?
Yes, I did.
And what I liked about your program the other day was you certainly talk about products, but more importantly, you're talking about processes and culture and those kinds of things. And it's easy to put product on the shelf, but it's much more important to figure out how to put it into the hands of a consumer and get them to buy it. And that's what I'm impressed that you're doing so well. So, ladies and gentlemen, the plan for today is for these 3 gentlemen to be the hosts of the show. I've asked them to not talk about their own companies very much, and to kind of ask each other questions. And I'm going to kind of sit here and listen. So, Jonathan, you're the newest guy on the block with a product. You get to ask Phil or Chris a little bit about their company. So start this thing off.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. Chris, as a fellow gentleman with a product, tell me, with the range of products that you have, what's really the flagship product of RX Solutions?
Really, there's two. Probiotic is our number one product, and prescription support's number two slightly. And the two reasons are really simple. That's the two biggest areas we can identify on a day-to-day basis. So probiotics, they cure a lot of things, but we're able to identify when the patient's taking an antibiotic. And with drug nutrient depletion, we're able to identify a lot of disease states that we know the product helps with. So being able to identify the problem and having a solution, those are the two reasons. Those are our flagship products.
Yeah. I just love, again, obviously as a pharmacist, what this situation is like with the patients and things like that. I mean, what a great, solution. Obviously, the name of your company is called Solutions RX, to be able to recognize that pharmacists are distributing all these pharmaceuticals, but there are issues that those pharmaceuticals all have that pharmacists, certainly know, and then you've got a solution, for that. What do you think is keeping consumers from using these nutrient depletion products? What's keeping them from not using as much as they should?
Yeah, I think it's just education. As hard as we try to beat the drum and as hard as we try to be out there, it's truly getting that information in the patient's hand. They have to understand, what the benefits are, why they need it, and there has to be a process in the pharmacy itself to educate that patient. Whether that's digital, or you're using your computer system, or using bag stuffers. A ton of ways you can do it, but the key is educating the patient. The patient has to know so that they get the opportunity to make the decision.
Well, and I'm going to jump in there too, because the dilemma for getting the patient to know is the pharmacist back behind the counter filling prescriptions. So, one idea about how you get somebody else in the pharmacy to do that, Chris.
So I've got a lot of ideas on that we teach, but I think you have to have a process. I've got a process we call up solutioning. If we can identify the problem, then we can offer a solution. I have no idea if this is a target market for you, Jonathan, but when I see zinc pop rocks, I think, obviously a little immune, a little fun, a little bad breath. And I start thinking about patients taking antihistamines and things like that dry their mouth out, or ACE inhibitors that dry their mouth out might want a breath mint. So I think of an up solution opportunity to offer zinc rocks when I see prescriptions like ACEs or antihistamines. So understanding, that I'm always looking for a problem, and then what does the product I have in my hand, what problem does it solve?
Yeah, and Chris, I mean, you hit on a great point. I mean, McDonald's is a worldwide success for a reason, and one of the things they do is they ask that question: do you want fries with that? So it really becomes, when they're getting that prescription, oh, I know what they need to identify. Do you want, fries? Do you want this dietary supplement with that? A great point, like what you're saying. People are getting those prescriptions that may deal with their, saliva issues and things like that. Absolutely. With breath rocks, that helps to create saliva with the popping sensation, and gets the saliva going. So you're right. These pharmacists have to have that solutions/sales mentality of saying, this is what the problem is, and I've got a solution for you, whether it's your product, my product, and other types of products that Phil, brings to the table.
Yeah.
So, Chris, you get to ask Phil a question.
Great, because that's what I wanted to do. Phil, I used to use your other company, Match RX, so I'm excited to hear about Match Square, but I don't know that much about it. I know it's online. I know it's B2B. So could you tell us a little bit about, how does that benefit the pharmacy? What types of sales, what types of products do you have? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, let me go ahead, and I'd like to tie into the last couple questions as well, or kind of the answer, because a lot of people, I speak to brands, I speak to pharmacists, my sales team speaks to pharmacists all day. And a lot of it has to do with, when you were saying, Jonathan, about the McDonald's process. Chris, you're talking about getting in front of the consumer or the patient at this point. I think that a lot of independent pharmacies would do well to kind of have, incorporate a sales stand-up into their morning routine. And that might better get them to the point where they can actually, I see you smiling there, Chris, it's probably something you teach people, but that is something that needs to go on in this industry. It takes 5 minutes to talk to someone about whatever products you want to either sell, promote, push, help, any of these type of things. So, understanding that maybe something behind the counter, by the bench, whatever the case might be. And in both of these situations, for you, Solutions RX, and for BreathRox, Jonathan, having, something that's not customer facing, but tech or pharmacist facing, that gives them a cheat sheet. I'm really surprised at how often I speak to independent pharmacists and they just don't have a process set up. At some point, there needs to be some adherence, some adoption, understanding that you have 2 stores in one, and making sure that the front end is supported. And that's how Match Square comes along. We're an online wholesale business to business, get out of your distributor or wholesaler for some other products. That doesn't, you don't have to, obviously you're going to have to sell these products. They're products that you need. They're products that easily get to you, but there is a world of products out there for your unique customers that come in, whether you're in a rural, urban, any type of setting. It could be supplements. It could be candles. It could be unique cards, not the same ones that have been sitting there gathering dust. And what they will do, they'll come on our site. They're getting the actual wholesale price from the brand, so they don't have to worry about markups, and it's being shipped directly to them. So you get a much better time frame. You don't have to wait. You don't, I'm for buying groups, but at the same time, you are going to go ahead and get that product sooner. And then the education starts from there. So we have almost 100,000 products, 850 brands, and over 1,500 independent pharmacy retailers, hoping to have 3,000. And we have multiple stores that are actually doing very well, placing orders. I don't know how much I should, say for specific pharmacies, but as Bruce said earlier, some are doing it really well. Many people are doing it good. There is a big portion of the independent pharmacy ocean that just doesn't really, that needs education and help from people like us.
Okay, so Phil, now you need to ask Jonathan a question.
All right, Jonathan, I had for you, what originally inspired the creation of BreathRox? Obviously bad breath, but why the popping crystals?
Well, it's kind of interesting. The man who invented this product actually back in the 70s, he figured out how to put Pop Rocks into dairy products, and so he came to the Pop Rocks company and brought that technology to them, and they said, well, hey, why don't you head this up and bring us to market? So this product actually now, if you buy a Hershey chocolate bar with popping candy in it, it's from our manufacturer. And so along that process, he worked with a celebrity dentist, and they figured out that by putting zinc in the popping candy, what that does is the zinc goes out there and kind of neutralizes the gases in your mouth that cause bad breath. So that was kind of this process of him figuring out, how can I put Pop Rocks into dairy products, ice cream products, and eventually into creating a breath product. And so that's the product was brought to me about a year ago, and that's where we've decided to bring it to independents.
And
Yeah,
why
I'm
pharmacies, Jonathan? Why this is a mass market product? Why pharmacy?
Well, it speaks to what Phil was just saying, is that with your pharmacies, they have an opportunity, because of the relationship they have with their customers, is that they're able to spend a little bit more time, and there's a little bit more trust. Because sure, we could go and try to have convenience stores carry it, but those are very transactional. People are running in, they're running out, things like that. Where with a product like this, it's a new product, it's a fun product, but you want to be able to also have the benefit of a pharmacist they're here to solve problems. And our product is not just fun, but it's functional. So by launching with independent pharmacies, they're going to take a little bit more time, be able to have a little bit better of a relationship. And so that's really where why we're starting with independents to launch BreathRox.
Hey, Jonathan, what's the price point on your product?
Yeah, right now it's at $349. That's our retail price, and then for pharmacies, it's a Keystone 50% margin, $1.74.
And is that does it come like 6 doses in that, or is that 1 dose?
Yeah, good question. It actually comes in a little black tube, as you can see here.
Okay,
There's actually
yeah.
12 servings in that tube. Interestingly enough, the product was actually sold on QVC and HSN and actually with Facebook. So they've done like $3 million in sales. The previous owners did, but they were selling in a big $30 box with like 9 tubes. So you still got a lot of sales from this on this big, Costco size, amount of it. And so what we've done is we've updated the branding and put it into a retail packaging so that it could be tried out for $3, not $30. So there's 12 servings in each one of these little tubes.
So Bruce, I don't want to overstep, but could I show you how I would do what Phil said? I would have a morning huddle. I would educate my team about BreathRox, and I would Google all the drugs that cause dry mouth, and then I would get my computer system to let my team know in workflow. And then I would have a question to ask that patient when I went down there. I'd have a little bag stuffer about BreathRox, and I would go down there and I'd say, if I was the patient, I'd say, hey, Chris, is your mouth dry? You take a lot of medicines that mouth dry, make your mouth dry. We got a fun little product here. You want to give us a try? It's like Pop Rocks and gives you fresh breath. So I think that's really cool. And I don't want to change the subject. Phil, I got a question for you though.
Sure.
Having so many products for the pharmacy to put on there, how does the pharmacy know what they have access to from your website and what they've signed up for?
That's an incredible question, and I'm glad that you asked it, because what we actually have done is that we have created a showroom of curated products specifically for independent pharmacy. Then on top of that, we curate collections. So if you were to come in, sign in, Chris, you've never heard of us before, you task a tech with finding some new products, put them on Match Square. They will easily click. They'll have a few hundred items to look for in the pharmacy showroom. They also have collections to shop impulse buys and guaranteed sellers that we know, brands that we can guarantee, hey, we have 25 independents who are selling this popcorn. And if you put it, exchange out what your Frito-Lay that you've had forever, we can almost guarantee that this is going to sell for you. So our goal is to have whoever is the front end buyer to spend 30 minutes. We know everyone's busy. So we really want to ensure that the time that you spend on Match Square, we know it's valuable, that you're going to be able to get something out of it. And on top of that, we offer an account concierge service where if you're an independent, you can call and say, hey, can you find these types of products for my unique customer? We'll go out, scour it, send you an email, or have a meeting with you and actually hold your hand through the whole process.
And I want to jump in there because, Phil, you said a key word, your front-end manager. This is the type of a task that you turn over to a staff member who has passion and who can spend some time and become familiar with the process. I know early on I had an opportunity to chat with one of your early customers, and she was blown away by the concierge person who actually rooted through all the stuff. She was looking for a particular sign that she had seen somewhere and wanted to put it in her pharmacy, and had spent time on Google looking all over for it, couldn't. Your concierge person found it, sold it to her, and she was thrilled. So it's not a it's not a I'm just trying to think about, it's not simple, but it's easy, or it's easy. It's you make it easy, but you're going to have to get oriented and somebody's going to have to dig into it, right?
Yeah, but we do have humans, and that's a big deal these days, and that differentiates us from all the other wholesale marketplaces. We have a program coming that's even going to differentiate us further. But no, we want to curate. We understand that whether it's independent pharmacy or another independent niche out there, that the issue is time. And they'll be the first ones to tell you that. Whether they motivate themselves to go above and beyond that is a whole nother story for independents. And I get it, but you have to make the time for the supplements, for the new items that are out, whether it be Breath Rocks and the Solutions RX, but you have to figure out what it is that your unique customer needs and how you're going to get your staff to address that. Because if you aren't doing that, it's not going to work for you.
Yeah, Phil, I really like what you were saying, this idea of saying, what products do we have now and what can we swap out for something that's more unique, more interesting? Because if you're just going to say, like Bruce saying, you've just got front end and you're selling commodities that everybody else can offer, it's not going to differentiate. It's not going to get people excited to come into your pharmacy. But if they know, hey, I'm looking for popcorn, or I'm looking for a meal replacement bar, or a candy, or a skincare product, whatever, if I go down to Village Pharmacy, they've got that solution, but it's a solution that's unique and interesting, and like you use the word curated. So I see that's a tremendous value and mentality to swap out those commodity solutions for a unique and exciting solution.
Yeah, I have one
Phil.
favorite line that I like to tell everyone, and I hope that every independent out there is listening to this. You're never going to be the dollar store, and you're never going to beat the dollar store. So you have to differentiate. Feel free to use that, but tell people, that's coming into the independent pharmacy. I have a big retail background and sales background, but that is probably the biggest issue that I see. Trying to compete with the largest players out there, that's not how you win. So you need to figure out bringing in, again, interesting products, quality products, figuring that out, spending that extra time. So,
Chris, you had a question.
Well, I was actually going to add to that. I like to call it painting yourself as the expert. When you paint yourself as the expert and you paint yourself as having high quality goods, then they look to another area that they want to purchase a product. They'll start with you at that point. And you're right. We can't be the dollar store. We have to be the expert. And as far as being too busy, that's what we always go to in pharmacy. And we are a busy retail location. I get that. However, the problem I usually see is that we only train one or two people or nobody sometimes. So we're not having that morning, what I call morning huddle. And I teach a process to do it. I think if it's over 2 minutes, you messed it up. So I think it's 2 minutes or less. Something I teach in my course. But I think when you educate that front end person, when you educate your technicians, you give them status, you give them ownership, you give them an ability to make your whole team better. If we were talking about a football or baseball team and we were just going to work on one player and that player was going out there and playing really well, but our team was getting beat all the time, nobody would care how good that player was. And in pharmacy, I think we have to train our whole team and give them good skill sets and good processes to win. And I think that's the key.
I couldn't agree more.
That's well said. I just had this personal example yesterday morning. I was out to go to a Cabela's, a Bass Pro Shop Cabela's, and I was there a little bit early. So I'm standing outside the door waiting for them to open it up. And somebody comes out, opens the door at 9 o'clock, and I'm walking into the last 1 minute of their 5-minute huddle. So they are all standing there by the front door, getting some last minute instructions. And the goal for the day was we want to get customer surveys. So they just, are we going to do it? And everybody cheered and they had their clipboards. And I was the first guy to get a survey when I walked in the door. It's teamwork. So, Chris, you've got a whole line of products. Jonathan, you've got one with 3 SKUs right now?
Correct. Yeah. 3 different flavors.
So, Phil, do you think either one of these guys are people who might benefit from being listed on Match Square?
I would love to have them both on there, and have, it's a very easy process. We're marketing for you. Any brand that happens to be listening to this program, if you're in the health, wellness, lifestyle area, I would definitely reach out to us at matchsquare.com, because that is what it takes. You do need to have different interesting items like the two that are on here as well, with the Breath Rocks and the Solutions RX.
So a quick qualifier, you are not a warehouse. You are a
We
facilitator.
are not a warehouse.
So you
Yeah.
negotiate with manufacturers for pricing and terms and all those kinds of things, but you're not shipping the product, right?
Realistically, well, we do not ship the product. This is a direct to the retailer. So, this is more somewhat of a drop ship method, or technically, drop ship has a kind of a dirty connotation to it these days. But, we are facilitators. We are trying to help people. We are trying to help independent pharmacy and independent business in general, brands and retailers.
Are there any minimums like from different?
So that
brands?
is what we negotiate. So we don't normally negotiate. We want brands to own this as another wholesale avenue for themselves. So, we speak about minimums, but we also want to adhere to MAP pricing. We are not going to tack on an extra 10% onto your price. We're not doing any of those items that, can sometimes be the norms. So we're trying to kind of break those norms, have a little bit more democratized opportunity for everyone involved, not just for ourselves.
Nice.
Jonathan, when will pharmacy owners first see your product? What's the plan?
We are launching at NCPA in Orlando the middle of October. So this is the first time that the product will be available to retailers, and we're coming right for independents because of all the great benefits that we talked about earlier.
You should
And
get
Chris,
your booth next to ours.
So who else has got another question? We've got a couple more minutes here.
I got a question.
There you go.
For Chris. So Chris, what was when did you have that aha moment knowing that Solutions RX would be your next calling?
Oh, yeah. So the way I had the moment to create the product, I was teaching CEs about drug nutrient depletion, and I was teaching about a statin and a CoQ10 or an ACE inhibitor and a folic acid or a metformin and B12. And I realized that we were giving the patient a handful of supplements, and they weren't high quality supplements, and a handful of pills. So I realized one of the biggest problems was you're giving them 3, 4, 5, 6 multivitamins, and we built all that into one product. So we increased compliance, we increased the quality of products. And then the real aha moment was I started messing with digestive enzymes in my compounding lab. And I started mixing them with patients that would bring in a prescription for a vitamin. We started mixing them. And not only did that vitamin go up, but they all went up. So I realized we could enhance vitamin absorption. So we put the enzymes, we made a higher quality product. And then when it started really moving, I realized that I like to coach people and I like to coach pharmacies. So taking our processes that had worked inside our pharmacies for 2 decades and starting to teach them to other people and move them around the country, it was just it was too energy giving for me to walk away from. And that's truly the reason I still think of myself as in the pharmacy industry, but I stepped away from the retail and into the wholesale side a little more.
And I'm going to jump in here because it's the universal theme for all three of you guys is you need to have processes. You need to have people assigned with different tasks. You need to have methodologies that allow people to do things. And it's because I saw Chris doing it. So Chris has created a collection of bag stuffers that have different things. So if you're on a antibiotic, or if you're on a statin or whatever, the pharmacist actually can pull one of those leaflets, write a note on it, staple it to the prescription, and then when the clerk is handing the prescription to the person, they have a note from the pharmacist to talk to them about CoQ10 or folic acid or whatever it is tied specifically to that item. So it's not willy-nilly. In their huddle, They agree on a number of encounters that they're going to try to have throughout the course of the day. And then you talk about a 2-minute huddle, and that sounds simple. It is simple, but you have to have done your homework before the huddle so you can talk to your people. Okay, yesterday we were going to do 10, we did 5. What are we going to do today to make up for that? What went wrong? What went right? And so you have to be prepared in order to make that huddle work. And it's organization, it's processes. And if you're trying to wing it, you're not going to succeed. If you tried to wing filling a prescription without carefully identifying all the steps, you'd make mistakes. And your front end and training your staff is the same kind of thing. Hey, listen, we're going to run out of time. I'm going to go to each of you for a 1-minute wrap up. Jonathan?
Thank you, Bruce. I'm just grateful for this opportunity to be able to share this, fantastic product with consumers through independence, because like these gentlemen were saying, I mean, these are great people who've got great solutions, but if they can just make things simple and then implement those simple solutions, then they can be able to solve these problems for their patients. And so, BreathRox, it's just one of the many things out there that can help people. And you look at the solutions that Chris and Phil have. I'm just glad to be part of this.
So it's breathrox.com, right?
Breathrox.com, ROX.com. Yep.
Yeah, Rox is ROX. Phil?
I'll obviously express the same gratitude to be on your show and to be with these other gentlemen. I would say that kind of the message that all of us have put together here is that there needs to be adherence and adoption for the front end. So there are many people out there doing, looking for solutions, creating solutions for these hardworking pharmacists and their staff. So if you can make the time, which you need to do for a myriad of reasons that you hear and read about every day, you have solutions like BreathRox, you have Solutions RX, you have a place to buy those products like a matchsquare.com. So we have built a marketplace just for you to make it easy. So please take advantage of it.
Thank you. And that's matchsquare.com, correct?
Correct. Match like a matchstick, square like the shape.com.
Gotcha. Chris, you're bringing up the rear.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you for the invitation. You guys were great. I enjoyed hearing about your products, and we are singing a similar song. I would just throw the last thing that, it's not that hard. We have a 2-minute huddle process. We've got an educate 10 a day process. And step 1 in our huddle process is, how are we doing against our quarterly goals? Okay. So if you have quarterly goals and you have a great product like Match RX or like Pop Rock, or is it? I almost said
BreathRox.
BreathRox. I apologize, Jonathan. BreathRox. When you've got those, if that's a part of your goal, then it's simple that morning to say, how did we do yesterday? How many do we have to do today? Maybe we got off kilter the day before. Maybe we just have to refocus on dry mouse our patient market or whatever. So many people to look at Match RX or Match Square. It doesn't matter, but having that process and being consistent is the key. There's plenty of low-hanging fruit patients in your pharmacy that have problems that they need your solution to. You just got to have a process and a consistency to educate them about it.
Well, and I'm going to close with my impassioned plea to where we started. Every pharmacy, no matter how small it is, has a front end. And the way it looks and the way it's merchandised is an important image maker. And your staff is professional, they're pleasant, they're well-trained. But if your front end is not well maintained, if it doesn't speak highly of your pharmacy, read a thing in a business book one time that if you get into an airplane and you find your tray table is all ucky and sticky, you wonder how well they cleaned the engines or maintained the engines. So the front end of the pharmacy speaks volumes about your meticulousness in the pharmacy. And there's ways to make it profitable, and it can improve your image. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors, thrilled to have had Jonathan Tanner with BreathRox, Phil Childers with Match Square, and Chris Corneliuson with Solutions RX. Gentlemen, thanks for your time today. And for my listeners, here's hoping that something we said today will help you do more and be better. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Pharmacy Crossroads. If you're interested in talking with Bruce, please contact the show. Visit pharmacycrossroads.com. We look forward to hearing from you.